Alright, what is up YouTube? It's Cord Campbell here. Back again today with coding Mitta. Right out of the gate, I'm going to listen to myself. Make sure I sound okay. Yep, I sound good. I'm getting this down. It's taking a while. Okay, I don't want to shut that off. Yesterday I killed it. Okay, we got the indexer running today. We have two boxes running. If you just are joining the stream, we've got, I forgot to mute myself though. If you're just joining the stream, we've got a couple of boxes running on Google Cloud. Mitta is deployed exclusively on Google Cloud. Google's offering, cloud offering stuff. I use a couple of different features of Google Cloud. I use AppEngine, Google Compute for the instances. So AppEngine runs the site. Compute Engine runs the Solr instance and the Grub instances, which is what crawls things or images things. And then I use storage for storing the images, and then the data store for storing entities. And I do use some network services like load balancing and stuff like that. If you're interested in that, you'll need to go back to the old episodes. This is episode 19, so we're closing in on episode 20. I figure by the time we get to episode 50, we'll actually have a functional product. By the time we get to episode 100, we'll be launched, probably making some money. All right, let's get into this. So I'm going to close my email there. Yesterday I opened my email and I had to go back and add a blur. I had some tax stuff in there. Whatever. Thankfully Google has an editor, so that's great. I was able to go back in there and throw a blur in there. All right, so I thought what we would do today is just focus on the search API. So we're slowly but surely grinding through here. If you're not familiar with what Mitta is, go to Mitta, mitta.us, and you can sign up. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to log out real quick. I'm going to show you the sign up process. So just click on sign up and type in your email address. And what I'm going to do is just type in my Gmail account here, like this. Now I'm not going to be able to show you that because of yesterday's opening my email, but you're going to get a token. And then what happens is, and I'm just going to click on cancel there, but I'm going to go back in and re-log in. And what's going to happen is it's going to ask you to go check your email. You're going to go check your email, and then it's going to give you a token. And in this case, mine, I've got my phone hooked up to it, so you can add your phone number. After you validate the token, you can add your phone number, and then it'll log you in. And what I've done is, for the time being, I've put a little dash line around the box up here at the top, but if you click up here, you'll get this cursor, and then once you get the cursor, you can type things. And one of the things you can type is help, and the only reason you want to type help is you want to kind of see what's available. Unfortunately, these are all currently broken. I need to fix them. But you could crawl something by typing in grub, and then we're going to type in hold on just a second. This is my daughter calling. Hello? Oh, nice. I just started. I'm good. I just started my stream. Well, I'll talk to you for a second. It doesn't matter. They can wait. Hell, right? I mean, nobody watches it but me anyway, so it's just me watching it. So, well, you could watch it, but you might fall asleep. I'm not saying that that'd be anything wrong with you, but it's probably me, not you. Well, especially when I'm playing as a cat. I mean, I got watched like 20 times. So, I mean, clearly, being a cat is probably more interesting than just being me. But yeah, meow. I got some problems with the site, so I'm trying to work through them, but it's okay. I mean, it's at least working now. So I just indexed Hacker News just now. So, and did you hear my phone beep just now? It's kind of weird because sometimes you can, when you're on the phone with somebody, if they get a message, sometimes you can hear it, and sometimes you can't. I could hear it, but. Oh yeah, if it vibrates, yeah. Yeah, Mom called me, and then she was like, "I tried to call you yesterday," and I'm like, "I know, I was working at the farm, and so I fixed their irrigation. One of their irrigation systems was just leaking like crazy, so I dug it all up and fixed it. Yeah, that was fun." It's Alameda Point Collaborative owns all of it. They got a lease for like a 40. I think they got like a 50-year lease originally. They've only got like 39 years left on it. But all of that land was from the Air Force or the naval base here in Alameda. And it was all the old housing, and so they house like 500 homeless people, or previously they were homeless. The requirement is you have to have some sort of disability and you were homeless, and then they put you up in the housing there. And so, I mean, that's better than just randomly running around giving homeless people stuff. So, and so there's a couple of people working there, and so I showed up yesterday, and Dennis was there, and they hired him for like, he said 6 weeks. So, yeah. Yeah, I talked to him for a little bit. He likes to talk a lot, and I was like, just go work. He goes, "I've been trying to call you," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've tried to call you back. We've just been playing phone tag, so." But it's good because he's been clearing those other plots on the other land, so. But I told you the story about walking with the director down to the farm, and then like they were talking about Dennis clearing all the plots, taking them over, right? But yeah. But anyway, it was exciting to hear about Conor's victory and getting the logs out of the car. Yeah. Well, they totaled the car because she hit him in the rear, and then I guess evidently it's a scam. So what you do if you're a scammer is you look for somebody who's sitting at a light that's got 2 lanes, and then I guess they would have to be in one lane or the other, and then you hit them on the rear quarter. So if they're in the left lane, you hit them on the right side. If they're in the right lane, you hit them on the left side, and then it knocks them into the intersection, and then what happens is you say when the police come, you say they lane changed going into the intersection, which you're not supposed to. You can't change lanes in the intersection, right? So then you say they were lane changing, and then there's pretty much nothing you can do as a defense, except of course if your car logs what it was doing, which that Honda does. And so then they totaled it and they towed it away. And so Conor called the salvage yard, and the guy's like, "Yeah, we can pull the logs out of there." And so they pulled the logs, and then they had to analyze them. And so then they ended up analyzing them, and they're like, "Yeah, the car was sitting still whenever it got hit, so it wasn't moving." And then it locked. She totally got busted, yeah. And she was acting really weird when I got there. So she was filming, I think I told you that, but she was filming us because I had to take a strap and hooked it up to the front of the truck, and I had to pull the shrapnel out of the tire. The tire wasn't poked, but it had that car, those Hondas it's fairly lightweight metal, but it had bent like this metal down into the tire, so Conor couldn't drive, but the wheel was straight-ish. But he couldn't drive because it was rubbing on it. And so we pulled it out, and she filmed us doing all of it. And I'm like, hey, can we help you? Like, this has been like probably almost an hour since the accident. And she loitered waiting for them to leave. And it was so weird because when I drove back by, there was all this crap in the road from where she had hit them. And she was there still, and she was driving. She was going the opposite way in her car. Because I looked at her car and I was like, there's that car. And then I was like, there she is. And she had told me she was waiting somebody to come get her, but that wasn't true. She was driving around. So she lied to me, and then she filmed us. I don't know why she would film us. I guess she was looking for something that would show evidence. She could. She's trying to back up her bullshit. So. Isn't that great? Like, her insurance will have to pay, and they'll cancel her probably over it. But then the stupid part was her insurance company, and Connor's, or actually Alana's dad's insurance company, they were like siding with her. But she was older, so who knows? It's kind of silly. I know, right? That was great. I'm excited about watching the dog. Yeah, I am. It's fun. Yep. It'll be good. So we're gonna go somewhere on Friday and we'll walk around the resi and then go grab dinner. And then you want me to help help you with something at the house, maybe? Doorbell. Okay. I'll be there at 4. I'll get there at 4 now. That'll be cool. Sweet. I know, it should be nice. It's been really nice today. Yeah, I mean, I got the doors open. I know, that's nice. Well, that's silly people steal toys. I can't believe people steal toys. I think it's sort of, like kids are going to be kids. They don't know about that stuff. But adults? Oh, that's sad. Well, I mean, what I would say is if you just tell her to buy that thing, then just put it in the damn window. If somebody, like, there's that little, I think when you walk in, that window's kind of angled right there. If you just were to set it in the window, or just put it up on a little platform and put it right in the window, and you could see that as somebody walks in, you could see yourself as you're walking in. Nobody's going to take anything. It's going to be like, I'm not going to go in here and take anything. You're just going to leave. Well, I mean, I think people are probably kind of desperate right now. The number of houses going up for sale around here is kind of bonkers. Yeah. And I don't know, I think it's a hard time for a lot of people. I'm grateful that I'm just bored. Well, I mean, I'm keeping busy, but yeah, yeah. Right. I'm so proud of you for working. You're such a good egg. I love you very much. Oh, you're sweet. Oh, you're a very sweet child. I'm so disappointed in you. You're the worst. You're the worst dad ever. You make me sad. God, wouldn't that suck? That would just suck. I mean, that's one thing I gotta say about Grammy is she's always building me up. She's like, I can't believe you get so much stuff done. I've never been able to get that much stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but I love you too. I love you very much. And then I look at Conor and I'm like, he gets stuff done too. So last night, he totally cleared XCOM. So he finished XCOM last night. It was awesome. I stayed up to like 11:20 watching him. I was so tired. I'm like, I gotta go to bed. Old man. Oh man. Pretty funny. Well, thank you. I love you very much. Okay. Well, I'm not playing anything different, so unless something comes up for you, just let me know. Okay, good. Awesome. Well, I can help you put together the like TV stand, or we can work on the doorbell or something like that if you want. So, okay. I love you, sweetie. Thank you for calling me. You have a good rest of your day. Okay. All right. All right. Well, oh, and also I'll bring you a ward. Oh, I've printed some wards, so I'll bring you a ward, and then we can put a ward up in the store. You can put a ward up in the store. You can hide it. Do you know what those are? You have to. Yeah, like a Celtic cross or something like that. Where they're like, it's like a little pattern. This keeps bad energy away. I love you. All right, I'll text you tonight. All right, love you. Bye. Bye. All right. Well, thanks for being patient. That's my daughter, so you gotta talk to your kids. She's such a great kid. Okay, so I forgot where I was, but we're just gonna get right into it. So I kind of showed you how to log in. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So I have a little bit of a problem. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna delete using the sidekick function. I'm gonna delete actually, I'm just going to switch to a new sidekick. So we got Chewy White Robin. And then, let's see here. I'm going to clear this so it's going to the top. And then let's index. So we're going to use the grub command, which is the crawl command. And then we're going to index news.ycombinator.com/news. And then so what we are going to do here is I've glued my my silence button on my iPhone. I have this iPhone 10 and I've had it for a while, and I glued the I glued the slider button on it, and the reason I did that is because it kept silencing itself. So I was just trying to silence it, and I can't slide it. So it's not a big deal. So earlier I was having problems with the grub server. I don't exactly know what was going on. It looks like maybe the server got restarted. I think I had a zombie process. I'm not sure what was going on, but like the problem that I was having was that that when I would index something, I couldn't search it. So let's see here if we can search this. So we want to search for title hacker. That returns it. So that wasn't working earlier. I don't know what was wrong with it. I'm just going to leave it. I don't really want to go into a troubleshooting session right now. It's better that we don't on this stream, because I definitely get off into the weeds with it. So I mean, things are going to break. I had like some, let's see, it was like chicken chili recipe. I think I spelled recipe completely wrong there. I don't even see it. I don't even know where it is. That's not it. Oh wait, this is it. Sally's baking addiction. So let's take this and see if we can save it. Let's see if we can crawl it, I should say. This is gonna break. Yeah, see, it says a parse error. So this is something that we can look at locally. So we've got a parse error locally. So weird. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see here. So it's good that it's telling us something. Unexpected S in JSON at position 613 reported. So let's go look at the grub command. We're definitely going to work on indexing today. Of course, we've gotten off to an interesting start by me being on the phone, but nevertheless, I should be able to edit that out of the video, which I may or may not do. It just depends. It doesn't matter. Maybe you had fun listening to me talk on the phone to my daughter. So, crawl. So where would it throw this error back at us? Is kind of the question. We got a little margarita here. 3:28 in the afternoon. So let's see here. We should have, we printed out the upload URL, so we definitely got to this part. And we did not print an exception here. Let's go look at grub real quick. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to do an inspect. I'm going to rerun this command. Let's see what we get back. Well, it's saying there's an error here. Sally's baking addiction. So my guess would be that this is not valid JSON. And if that's the case, then we're going to leave it, because it'll be a pretty easy fix to fix this. Yeah, that's... There it is right there. So I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, well, what if those quotes, what if there's a quote in the description? So if we go and look at that, it's a true set it and forget. So that's in quotes there. And so what happens is that escapes out of this quote that's in the description. So I think the easiest thing to do with this is just report it as a bug. And then I can fix it later, and then I don't have to worry about remembering the URL. Maybe I'll just put the URL in here that as a good example of this being a problem. So let me go in here and open an issue. So let's see. Double quotes in description on site will cause the JavaScript scrub.js command to fail. Example. Submit new issue, assign myself, because there is no one else to work on it. It's just me. And it's a bug. And the release. What did I think? Well, I said end of March. Now let's think about this. If it's end of March, I said 50 episodes, so we've done 20 episodes, so that's 30 more episodes into March. I'll have to do an episode a day. Well, I might get done. We should have a release by episode 50, I'm thinking. Okay, so that we got that bug open. So let's move away from this now. So I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's too bad we can't bookmark that because I am making in the crock pot right now in the kitchen. That's what I'm having tonight is crock pot chicken chili. It smells wonderful. If only you could smell over the internet. All right, so as you saw earlier when I was talking to my daughter Lily, I was able to crawl Y Combinator and it worked on the first time. So who knows what was wrong with it earlier? It doesn't really matter. I don't care. We'll get to fixing bugs later. It's more important that we move through getting things fixed. If you get caught up in the bugs, you'll never get your release done. You just need to move past them. Things are going to break. You sign up 10 people, something's going to break. You sign up 100 people, something's going to break. If you sign up 1,000 people, something's going to break. If you sign up 10 people and something breaks, well, you're not going to sign up 1,000 people if it breaks for 10 people. Those 1,000 people aren't going to sign up. So you're going to constantly have to fix something. This is the case with software. You're just going to have to constantly fix things. So, and with a crawler, I mean, that can be a big deal because of like parsing things. Like dealing with this, like dealing with escaping things and stuff like that. That needed to be fixed anyway because that's a security issue. Because if that double quote escape thing works, I could probably inject JavaScript into the site from the URL that I'm crawling. But that would have to require somebody knowing that I was going to crawl. So it's not dangerous right now, but it could be dangerous later. One of my recommendations for like when you're building stuff is to just remember that it's going to break and that you're going to have to fix things and that some things are like break hard, some things break bad, some things break are just like an easy break or a non bad break. It's not like that big of a deal that it breaks. It's probably not going to break for that many people, in other words. But if it's like a bad break, it's like security flaws. So those need to be fixed. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're working on today, which is search. I just tried to keep it easy today because yesterday I didn't end up doing what I said I was going to do in the description, which I think it was, what did I say? Let's see here. I've since forgotten. As soon as I look at it, I'm going to go, oh yeah, it's that. So it's like deleting documents, and it was actually, oh yeah, re-indexing documents. So I was looking this morning at the differences between put and post, and I tweeted about this. If you're interested in following me on Twitter, it's Campbell Cord, CampbellKord. But this has got 4,400 upvotes. Both put and a post can be used for creating. But then the idea is that a post is for it's for updating? No, it's for creating. But then it's depotent, so I guess it's for changing things, whereas a put is indepotent. I don't know. Like if you basically what I read was if you do a post, according to the consensus on this page, a post creates a child resource and a put can create or replace the resource. So ideally when you do a post, it always creates something new. So if we go in and we look at the APIs and I look at settings, for example, I updated this to say post or put on the settings. So if you were to post or put to the settings and there was no setting, then it would update it with the value. But if you post or put to it and there is a setting, we're still going to update the value because it's so simple. So in this case, it's not really it's not going to create a new entry for the name, the variable name, the setting name. It's just not. So in the case of Mitta's API for at least settings, put and post does the same thing. But here it says they do different things. But that's why it's called RESTful. This means it's sort of REST-like, is sort of the way to look at it. There's also this thing called patch, which is as far as I can tell, nobody uses patch. But if you use patch, or you know somebody that uses patch, or you know an API that uses patch, put it in the show notes. Just like comment below. You can't put it in the show notes because I would have to do that, but put it in a comment is what I actually meant. With crawl, when you do a post, you are technically asking for it to crawl again, and then it will update the file names. And I'm planning on like keeping just a first in FIFO queue. So if you like maybe have 10 or 5 or something like that file names. So if you keep indexing the same site or asking for me to crawl or grub to crawl the same site over and over again, then I'm only going to keep like 5 copies of it or something like that. I haven't figured that out yet. I'll have to come back to it. Right now it's just keeping as many as you ask for. So if you ask for it to be indexed 20 times, it'll index it 20 times and it'll keep those images. Upload, well, when you post, it creates a new spool, but if you post again, it'll create another new spool. But with grub or the crawl, if the URL is the same, it won't create another spool. So that's sort of a put versus a post, but I don't care. I mean, it's close enough. And I don't think it's as confusing as, like, for example, the Solr APIs, which are totally not RESTful. They're only somewhat RESTful. I guess it doesn't matter if they're sort of RESTful. That still is RESTful, I guess. Okay, so we managed to move through all of the indexing stuff yesterday, which is a good thing. We're done with deleting a document. So if we want to delete a document now, we can. So at the very least, the UI could go in and say, oh, well, we have a document already that matches this. We could delete it. Or we could just say, we don't want that document in there. We do a search, like here. We could actually put an X here, and we could delete this document if we wanted to. We could delete this entry. And that would be handy. What else did I do? I hooked this up to where you can actually click on it. Of course, I say that you can click on it, and now you can't. I have no idea. Oh, this is on production. Let me do it localhost real quick. I was like, what happened? I swear sometimes when I do stuff, I'm like, did I dream that I did that? Because I'll come in and it won't actually be what I think it was, and I've forgotten. Okay, so if I click on this, it should work. So see, now it opens the URL that was indexed. Now keep in mind, we have this upload function, which we haven't wired up yet to use the upload features. But here we could just upload, we could upload this. And then ideally, we would be able to click on it and see it and interact with it. We could upload multiple ones if we wanted to. We could say, well, we want to upload all of these. And then they all come in here. But I don't have a way to look at them yet, and I don't have a way to add them to a spool or search for them. And then the problem is, of course, with images is that until we get the tagging working, we won't have these words in here. Now, this is the nice thing about Mitta, that unlike other, maybe like a regular crawler that goes and crawls a web page, with Mitta, we'll be able to search for example, my name here. We could type in Cord, K-O-R-D, so we could say search, and then we could say, whatever text on the page, text : Cord, or we could just say search Cord, and it would bring up this document or this page or image and show it to you. And that's pretty handy. All right, so may not be obvious why it's handy, but it will be here shortly after we do a couple more episodes. It'll become very clear why it's handy. So what we're working on today is the search function, and that's all we're going to do for the rest of the video, is we're going to just work on making this work. And we've got an example down here of this facet query, so I'm going to try to get this working as well. I'm not going to try to do much else than just this. I have a relatedness query that uses a curl. I may try to get that running. We'll see if we can get it shoehorned in here. But one of the things that I noticed here was these are an awful lot of queries. So if we were to say, for example, if we wanted to go over and look at Solr, see here. Where are the parameters? Common query parameters. So we have like things like score, rows, filter query, field list, debug, explain other, time allowed. I don't even know where that would be. Well, you can see there's a lot. And I don't even know that, I mean, I wouldn't want to type all these in. So let's go over and take a look at, let me save this real quick and close it. Let me close these down. Just so it's a little cleaner so I can look at it. Don't look at my config file. That's the crawl file, that's the upload file. We'll leave Solr up. Alright. By the way, this click thing, that's been broken for a long time. You can see it sort of doesn't work sometimes. Like if you click on that, it doesn't do anything. But if I click off to the side, if I click to the side of this, I don't know what it's doing there. Like I don't know how that's happening. I'm not sure. And that's all happening inside of jQuery console. And click. So I'm doing this if event target text includes HTTP. So basically I'm looking for a link, but I need to do that a little bit better, but it's just sort of a hard and fast way to do that right here. I just wanted it, instead of, whenever you click inside of the container, which I think is the entire document, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's the entire document. That's this click function is grabbing that whole thing. And then what's the whole idea is that when you do that, it selects this box down here. That's actually not an input box in this. I think in a previous episode I tried to indicate that it was a let me take care of something real quick. This is driving me bonkers. I've got a can of WD-40. I have a squeaky bearing on my chair, so I'm sitting on a bar stool because I kind of like to be up high. Okay, so let's do a search here, so we have it for reference. Is that gonna work? What's happening? Hello? What's going on? I don't know. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, this whole container click function, that the click handler needs to be dealt with somewhat better than it is currently. I need to be able to click on images. I need to be able to click on URLs. It would be nice to be able to click on these things and have it do stuff too. So I'll be working more on the UI in subsequent episodes, but we're hopefully going to stay on topic and just talk about index here. Just keeping in mind that we may have some problems using the UI while we're doing this. So if it does unexpected things, it's just to be expected because we haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, so index so far has I'm sorry, we need to look at search. Search, not index. So search so far has just one handler, and if we look at the APIs for it, here, we've just got one. We've got this one. That's all we've got. And as I mentioned yesterday, search is basically a Git on index, the index methods. which is sort of why I mentioned it up here. I like say, you know, you're going to use the search method, but it's a get on the search endpoint, and in particular, it's actually a search on the endpoint here for the Sidekick ID. So the document hasn't been, the docs have not been updated to say that yet. We'll update it to say that here. But it's essentially a get on the index. Search is. But I wanted to make it a separate, its own separate thing because it's so, well, it's complicated. And it's complicated because Solr has a lot of different functionality for it. And in fact, Solr, I think, uses it uses stuff like this, like the select endpoint. So if you look at the URL here, you see here that you've got like a separate endpoint. You have this thing called select. So it's not even, I mean, most of the Solr stuff is all gets anyway. So it's not, it's slightly RESTful, but the gets are the gets are two particular endpoints, and then the endpoint itself is kind of defining what's happening. Like, are you getting something? Here we're selecting, although that's sort of weird because it's actually a query, so I don't know why it's not called query or something besides select. I mean, I guess select is sort of a database word for selecting things out of a database as opposed to updating something out of a database. I don't know. Anyway, so at least with Mitta having a get method on it, we are changing the endpoint to S, which is not for select but search, and then we're searching the collection or the core or the index or what I call sidekicks to make it consistent. That's why I call them sidekicks. Is number one, a sidekick is sort of an entity you're talking to. So if you want to query the entity, you should have like an entity name instead of something like core or whatever, right? Like here, sometimes you're querying a core, sometimes you're querying a collection. It's a little confusing depending on the version of Solr you're running. If you're running Solr standalone on an instance like I am, it's a core. If you're running it in cloud, it's a collection. All right, so the current method is a get on the Sidekick name, and what we say here is if we get a line, we must be in the shell. So if I type in something here like this, then what's going to happen is if we look at the inspector, what is going to happen? I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to put this up here. I'm being loud again. We're going to get a query to the J endpoint, which is handled by the shell.py file. That's going to return the search.json file, which is here. And then search.json is going to query the /s endpoint with the Sidekick ID on it, which again is this search endpoint here. And so we can see it's querying Chewy White Robin, which is the currently selected index or Sidekick. And then Chewy White Robin is returning a result. And it's also showing us what our query was here. So if I were to search for something like search title hacker, then we would get back the query. It would show us the query. This response is coming straight in from Solr. And then it's giving us back the documents that are coming back from Solr here. And in this case, we've only got one because we've only told it to crawl one page. There it is again. I have any idea why that handler is doing that, but we'll figure it out eventually. So in order to do this via the API, we're going to drop over here, and I say API via curl, via the curl example that's in the API. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a curl HTTP. We're going to do localhost 8080, and then we're going to do S for search, and then we're going to need to know what sidekick we're talking to. In this case, it's Chewy White Robin. And then we're going to send it our token and some search parameter. But first what we're going to do is we're going to send it the token and see what happens. Nope. Paste. That's weird. It's not pasting. Copy. Paste. Okay. So then we're getting back, it says nothing happened and there was no query. So now let's try to put the query in there. I think we can put it on the end here. So we'll leave the token on the front and we'll put the query in here. So query equals, and then we're going to put the star, colon star. Now what this means is that's the field name. So if we look at our our field name, we can see, if we look at our query, we can see the star in here, and what that actually means is query any field for any value. Now for whatever reason you can't do something like this. For example, I can't query all of the fields for spool, but you can do it the other way around. So you can say source type is spool. So you can do that. And that didn't work. I don't know why. Why didn't that work? Oh, it's a facet query. Let me select. Oh, we're actually talking to Chewy White Robin. So Chewy White Robin query, execute query. There we go. Now we're going to say source type and spool. And we're getting back the same result because that's spool. If we were to change this to something like spool 2, we would get no documents back. What does this error say up here? String property UID exception, Solr exception, invalid core string property UID. Core names must consist entirely of periods, underscores, hyphens, and alphanumerics, as well as not start with a hyphen. Okay. Do I have something that's an exception to that? I don't know. I don't know why it's saying that. String property UID. Oh, there was actually somehow this, I think it was like the name of the, somehow the variable, like the code that I was using got in there. I thought I deleted that though. I don't know how that's getting in there. Doesn't matter. Maybe that's been up there for a while and I just now noticed it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Moving on. Okay, so one of the challenges here is if I do a query like this should work. It doesn't work. So let's go take a look at why this is not working. This should work. So Chewy White Robin has data in it. So I just want to confirm here. So that's the same search done with the line, however. So the text is, if we print the text here and then we do the search, we should get that text back right there. That's the text right there. Make sure I'm not blocking on that. I always have to hit enter there. I forget, and then it doesn't work when I do when I do something here. Okay, so but in this, what's happening is I'm doing the search. Oh, you know what? What is going on here? Query equals the query still says none. The params that are being passed are still none. I think the thing is, the queue is probably not being populated correctly there with that. I don't know. It says none. Right there. So request args get queue is not working. But then there's... Oh, you know what? I think the problem is that ampersand. So let me put this in quotes. Okay, that works. So in your shell, if you've got an ampersand in there, then that tells it to fork or like not block. So it basically says fork this off as a separate process. So it's forking that off as a separate process, but then not grabbing the queue. And then we were probably getting some error about queue being something, maybe, maybe not. Man, that chili smells good. Okay, so let's run that again. There's our result. If we were to change this to, let's search for title here. Title, hacker. We still get it. Let's search for that. We don't get it because it doesn't match. We can do things like this too. This is kind of cool. So we could say hack, and then we could put a tilde there, and then we get the result back. And the reason why is this is like in Solr, this is like it's like a stemmed match or a close match. So it'll try to look for things that are like hack. You can even do something like this. So I could do like ack. No, ack doesn't work. Can I put that there? No. Can I put it on the front? No. I said stemming, but I don't know it's exactly stemming, but it's like an approximation. It's like a close match. I think I could do something like jack, maybe? Yeah. So it'll take it and try to closely match it. If it's like it's some like within some parameter of closely matching it. So if it's sort of misspelled or something like that. So possibly we could use that if somebody misspelled something. We could say, well, if there are no results coming back, we could say let's tack a tilde onto the end of it. If no results come back, let's take part of the word and tack a tilde on it. We could try to work on figuring out how to get results back. Give something back to the user instead of nothing. Okay, so what have we got done here so far? We know that this works. So handling that, we've got tags. So here we have tags, but we're not passing tags in down here. Let's take a look at the Solr query here, and we've got tags here. So what if we do something like this, tags URL? We would expect to have this document come back, and it does. So let's try it here. There's the document, and the reason it came back is that's it right there. Now, if we look at this here, we don't have anything that looks like tags. The only thing that we have is a little weird is this TQ. That's not actually a Solr thing. It's a Mitta thing. It's a chord thing. I created it. I don't know if I should call it TQ or not, but I did here. But it's the time word. And right now I'm blowing away all the time words. I think right here I say Solr time equals updated everything. So that basically says if the updated time on the document, which is right here, if that matches anything, then just return it. But then ideally you could say, only give me stuff from yesterday or last week or whatever. And we have a way to take time words and be able to allow it to do that. So we do probably need to deal with the time word. And I'm calling that TQ. So time word is coming in from TQ. So if the user gives us a time word, then we could potentially probably need to say something like this, because we're not going to get a plus sign from it. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. All right, so we're going to pass in a time word here. TQ equals, and then what do we want to say? Do I want to do this? How about we do this? Let's go back to what we had and say if time word if plus not in time word. So in other words, if there's not a plus sign in time word, then we want time word to be equal to plus sign time word. Yep. So, and then we're going to print time word. Whoop, we already did that. Alright. Now let's take a look at this. So time query equals last day. We should see last day over here, plus last day. And the reason we want to put a plus sign in there is because I think time warp, which is here, argument, args equals time argument split. It's just indicating that it is a time word. So time warp expects a plus sign on the front of it. And just to explain what time words are here, they're just shorthand for being able to define various date ranges. So for example, the plus sign week this function produces a start and end range that is for that week, for the week that's being specified by number, a numeric week. There are other ones like this week or day before yesterday or whatever we want. I could code up a whole bunch of different ones in here. It's just an easy way to remember what a time word is. A time range is. It's an easy way for a user to remember the time ranges. Humans, we talk about our time ranges with like named time ranges. Okay, so we're going to go back in here. I'm going to close out time word, time warp, and then I'm going to go in here and take a look at this part right here. So if not time word. So far we've gotten Q and TQ. Then we're looking at rows and start. And then at this point, I was looking at this code earlier and I was like, I don't know. Here's what we want. So what we want to do So this person is saying, I am trying to pass a comma-separated query parameters to Flask endpoint. It's not uncommon to have commas pass multiple values. I don't think this is the exact one. How to process incoming data. Maybe we want to like refine the query here. So we want to list all request parameters in Flask Python. Yeah, here we go. I'm trying to pass. No, that's the same query. Multi-value parameters. How to process. How to get parameters from URL. Well, I think I know the answer to this. Is it's request args. So let's just print request args here before we do anything else. And then let's tack on a few. So we're handling rows and start, but if we look at this, we're not handling FQ, filter query. So let's take a look at that if we tack on filter query. Yeah. Okay. Whatever, dude. Okay. So let's tack on the FQ here. And then we want like filter query. I don't know what we want here. We want updated star. We selected something over here and forgot to hit enter. Okay, so we see filter query there. Now keep in mind that I think that I'm updating that. So this is, oh, so it's an immutable dict, and it's showing token, tags, TQ, and FQ. So let's loop through that. I think I can do this. I think it's like 4 key value in request args. Print key. I think that's right. Let's see what happens now. Line 47. That's got to be me. Yeah. I found it earlier. I'm going to go back and search again. Get a list of all parameters submitted to Flask Python. Get the array as a get query parameters. No PHP. Request args get list. Is a multi-dict instance. We'd have to know the variables. Oh, request args to dict. What happens to arrays? Too many values to unpack. Expected 2. What does that mean? A big long error. Immutable dict. Hey, you know what? It's an array. Why is it an array? Could we do something like this? Like this. string requires left operating. I don't even know what that means. What if I did just food? Well, that's it right there. Token Q, TQ, FQ. So could we build, I was thinking out loud here, could we build something, a Solr query here, just tacking all those onto here? Kind of feel like yes. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it and I'm going to stick it up here. Because I want to handle stuff separately in the query from the shell. These need to be handled, so I need some sort of way to handle them with the query builder. I have a query builder, which is, I'm not going to get off in the weeds. Okay, so the query builder uses these special like markup characters, and if you put something in front of it, like for example this, currently the whole idea is supposed to be able to say something like start 42. This is old stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to use that exactly. But the whole idea would be, like, for example, for start, the number of rows you want and where you start. In other words, like if you go back 100 documents, you might want to start at the 11th document, which would be the second page if you were returning 10 documents each. So it's a type of pagination. You don't want to throw all of the stuff on there. If we go to Google, when we search for Solr, for example, we're going to get back all these documents, but then we have this pagination down here. So Google's showing us like 10 documents. But they also do other things, like they put this crap over here. Somebody decided this is some, like, intelligently constructed object that is matching the Solr query. But these are the raw results right here. So they would pull out an ad. This is not an ad in this case. They would pull out, but they could pull out an ad. So they go query their ads that match Solr, and then they query all the results that they have in the index, and they put all of those in here, but they just give you 10 of them, and then they give you a pagination thing. And if you go in here and look somewhere, you're going to see that it starts on the second object, and I don't know how they do that, but there's an ad now. Before we didn't have an ad. See, there are no ads in here, but if we go to the second page, now we have ads. So somehow it says when you go to the second page, show 3 ads, 4 ads, 3 ads, and then start showing the rest of the results. So let's see if it continues to do that. Yeah, it does. So it's just padding ads at the top. Alright, so we're going to drop back into the search. So we're going to put this in here, and then we need this to be here. Solr has a default row handler as well. We're going to figure out what to do with that here in just a second. Handle tags. We really don't need to handle tags. We can make the user handle the tags. As long as that's up here for tags. I mean, the way that we're going to handle tags is if they send us a I mean, they could just specify them. We need to get rid of all this. Except maybe TQ. Let's do this. We're going to do, query string equals like that. And then we're going to say for foo and request arguments. And we're going to say print. Oh, we're going to go back over here and look at it. So it's saying token Q, TQ, FQ. Yeah. For key, can we say value? Print key comma value. Is that going to blow up? We don't have, we've got a Solr query, but we don't have, let's set the Solr query to start that right there. With Solr time. Solr equals star colon, let me think about this, updated star. Let me get rid of this rows thing. I'm going to get rid of all of this here in just a second, but I want to be able to do the query. Solr query. So we've got 4 things in here. Let's get rid of this. Now let's try that. Too many values to unpack in 66. Here. That doesn't work. Okay. Well, we're getting back something, which is good. So FQ is updated start, which is fine. I think what we want to do here is we want to print, and then we want to print request args key. I think that'll do it. That should do it. So Q is set to tags URL, TQ is set to last day, FQ is equal to updated. That's all coming in from here. So now we need to build a query string. So query string equals query string plus, I need to put a question mark on the end of that. In it, on the front of it. And then, well, the question mark is here currently. But we need to put an ampersand on the end of it for sure. I think I'm going to leave that there. And then we need to get rid of this. And this is going to be our query string. We're going to get rid of all this. Deleting code. We still need to handle this. I don't know what to do with this. We'll sort that around here in a second. So if, yeah, time word. So we're going to get TQ, and if TQ equals something, then what we're going to do is because Solr doesn't handle a TQ parameter, what we're doing here is basically we're taking all parameters that the user is sending to us and we're passing them straight into Solr. That's what we're doing. And I think, and then what we're saying is if we get a TQ, then we're gonna update FQ. Which means we would need to know the time word stuff beforehand. I don't know. That's like making my brain melt. So let's do this. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to simplify things. I want to get to the point where I actually have a query string that's sensible. So what I want to do here is I want to do the name, and then I want to do equals, and then I want to do the value. And then I want to tell it what I want to pull those from. So it's the key, comma, request args, the key, like that. And then we need to put an ampersand on the end of it, like this. Well, that should work. Well, key request arg what? Oh, here. Oops. Where'd all the other good juicy bits go? Here. These two. So we want it like that. Yeah. Yep. The things we do, there we go. We're getting a result back. And then what we want to do is we want to print. So here we're printing the request args. I want to get rid of this. So we're just looping through and grabbing all the request args. And then let's see, create a query string, then build up from what is being submitted. So I mean, what I would like to do for the user is like update that FQ document, the FQ. I ran across some Solr somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. I think this is what I ran into was a suggestion to submit. What is FQ? Let's take a look at this on the Solr site. When using the FQ parameter, keep in mind the following. So the filter query. The FQ parameter defines a query that can be used to restrict the superset of documents that can be returned without influencing score. It can be very useful for speeding up complex queries since the queries specified with FQ are cached independently of the main query. When a later query uses the same filter, there's a cache hit and filter results are returned quickly from the cache. So this is why you want to put the time range into the FQ, because what you're basically saying is, okay, I have a bunch of documents and they're all date stamped. They have a date time stamp on them, when they were updated. And you say, I only want these documents. And so now you have a superset that you can query, and it doesn't hurt the relevancy of the query that you're doing to it. It just takes those, which makes sense. because I mean you're doing it over a certain period of time. So if the user says, I want these over last week, you just want to say, okay, when I get rid of all of the other ones from last month, and we would just want to do last week. Now the problem is that we need to be able to still support additional FQ queries. So we have a lot of work here still to do with this particular part of the query, but keep in mind that what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to, I don't know why I keep closing this. It's like it's a repetitive behavior, keep closing it, close it. Okay, so I'm trying to implement this particular call. Now, this call may support the, this call will support the queries that are coming in from the shell, but the way that the shell does the query is it passes this line, which is the line that's being typed in by the user, and then we have a special handler for that part of it in the API. So the API method that's handling this, which is search, which is located in search.py, is handling a request that contains line, which somebody could do. So in other words, I could come over here and I could say this. I could just delete all this jazz. And I could say line equals, and then I could say bang search, like that. And it's going to give me an error because why? Because it has a bang in it. Excuse me. I can't remember why it does that. Let's encode that real quick. I do want to show this just because I want to hammer home this point. URL in encode. So I'm going to do search, something like that. So this is going to be a %20, and that other thing will be something else. What? It didn't encode it. I know that's not going to work. Seriously? Okay, let's delete all this. And then we're going to say line equals, shift insert. Yeah, see, this is event not found. I don't know why it's doing that. I'd like to URL encode. Thank you. That other side didn't seem to want to do it. I think you have to say something like, so this is line equals, and then it's, okay, yeah, search. What was the rest of it? This. Copy. Shift insert. Rows is not defined, line 58. Yeah. Okay, so rows. Or do something like that. I deleted it. Okay, there we go. So you can see that I'm doing a search to the API endpoint, and it's still working. In fact, I could say something like, if I could decode this, I could say something like hacker here, and this would be called title, and that still works. But if I change this to not hacker, just hack, it doesn't work. And the reason why that's working is because I'm passing in the line, and this part of the search handler is handling that line entry. So it says if the line is being passed in, if we have a line, request is likely from the shell, but it doesn't have to be from the shell. The user, if somebody wanted to do that with the APIs, it's totally fine, but we're not going to say that in the documentation. We're not going to indicate that you can do that in the documentation. The reason why is because the shell is, the shell is part of Mitta. So this is our method. We have an exceptional handler. We have a handler for the exception. It's not like a try except. It's an exception to the rules of which we're defining the API. But we don't want to have to do a lot of work in replicating all the crap that Solr supports, because we are just passing the query through to Solr. We're acting as a proxy here. It's an AP. We're proxying it through the API, the query to Solr, and we're just returning the results from Solr to the user. In an essence, Mitta is like a hosted Solr service. There are a bunch of these. Like I say, there are a bunch of them. There's like handfuls of them. So if we do something like hosted Solr, then you got like search stacks, and Covio, I guess, supports it, and Open Solr. Those are the guys I'm familiar with. Web Solr guys, talked to those guys before. Search stacks does it. I guess a whole bunch of people. Drupal has it. So I think Amazon has one. So there are some services that host Solr. And well, I mean, I'm one person here, so like I just don't want to mess around with it. So then the else here is just like, you're just going to treat this just like a Solr server. You have to pass in a token though. So you have to pass in the ACLs are done by tokens. And then I'm going to provide the TQ parameter, which you can use, which allows you to use a time word. But then the time word, if you pass in the time word with a plus sign in the front of it or not, then I'm going to add the plus sign to it, and then I'm going to process it for you and build the time range parameter, and then I'm going to pass it in so that you can do a search by time. So that's the only exception that I'm really doing, and so what we need to do today is just finish that. So here we're building up that parameter list, so somebody can pass in whatever they want. We just need to modify, to finish this, we just need to modify the FQ1. That's what we need to do. So how do we do that? For key and request arguments, I guess what we could say here is we could say if key equals so if TQ in key, then we want to do this. And right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this last entry in here, and this is here because dev is time stuff is borked. So I need to fix that. I'll probably fix that off stream. But essentially, I'm going to take this line out. This is just saying use all time, so use all updated fields. And the reason I'm doing that is because whenever I add something in development, the timestamps are off by like 8 hours. And that's because I'm in Pacific Standard Time, but then the servers are on UTC time, which is like French Greenwich Mean Time. And so the reason that's in there is because of that. So I'll eventually take that out once I sort around my offset issue with dev. Probably what I need to do is go into config and tell it what my offset is and then adjust it accordingly, but I haven't done that yet. I'll do that off stream. So I don't want the Solr query there because I'm already doing that. So if not time word is going to default to the last day. Start and end, yeah. And then I'll have to do something with time word. I mean, I'll have to set Solr time equal to start and the end. But at least at this point, I will have the start and end times from the time warp command, from the time warp library. So if TQ is in the key, so in other words, I'm going to loop through the keys. If I see a TQ entry, I'm going to do this stuff. And then I'm going to get down to Solr time, and I'm going to set Solr time. And then what I'm going to do, whoops, is I need to see, let me think about this. If Q in key, I want to continue. No. If FQ in key, how do I do this? Because it's like it could be in either order, right? So up here, like if I were just to like illustrate this, so I could have like question mark TQ. First example. So this TQ equals, well, we're going to have a Q equals something like that. And then we're going to have a TQ equals last day. And then we're going to have a FQ equals some foreground query. Source type equals source type colon spool. Or I'm going to have, in the second example, I'm going to have this flipped. Like that. So I come in and I hit this and I say FTQ and key. User is using a custom time word. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this twice. So I'm going to do this for key in request args again. So, oh, actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this. If request args TQ, look for time word first. That's simpler. Then I'm going to loop through. And then I'm going to say if yeah, that's what I want. So if FQ is in key, so in other words, if I see the FQ query, like someone sent me a full FQ query, I have to like add to it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say else do that or do this. Yeah, if FQ in key, FQ value equals request. Thanks, Sublime. Args key. So the key. So whatever they gave me plus. Well, let's do it this way. I always like formatting it because that's just the way my brain works. So I'm going to put %s here. So that's the request args key, right? Equals, and then %s, right? A plus sign and a %s. And then I want to do the key, which will go in the first value. Then I want to do, I'm sorry, the key, then the value, which is that, and then whatever I did for Solr time, like that. And then I want to add it to this. I just want to do this. FQ value. Yep. And then I'll put the else over here. Otherwise, I'm just going to treat it as normal. I mean, I could put a %20 in here, pre-encode it. I think that's right. Print query string. All right, let's try that and see what it does. So here we've got, we don't want this one, we want this one. And then we want something like this, source type equals, what is the source type on this? Let's look at Solr. Source type is a spool. I should have known that. Spool. And then we want to take out this thing, the TQ. So we just want this like that. And bad request. Key error TQ. Where? Line 72. What does that say? Key error. I've done forgotten what I've done forgotten what I need to do in here for grabbing that. The Git. I don't know why I would built it that way. Like this. We got dictionaries on the mind. Local variable Solr time reference before assignment. What line? Line 87. I guess I need to say else. Well, there is nothing, right? Could we just blow it off? We could say and Solr time equals or and not. Like that. No, we don't have to have the else statement. $186. Yeah, it's not defined. That doesn't work. Do it like this. Oh, it's windy. Well, I don't really want to put it in there like that. Yeah, I think I want to do this. And not Solr time. So both of them like that. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Unsupported format character at index 8. Plus sign. It's this. I'll just let it be a space. That works. Okay, now we should see it over here. This. But, well, and Solr time does not equal that. Otherwise, we'll run the other thing. Just run it normally. Okay, now that's right. Except we have an ampersand on the end of it. And the reason why is because why do we have an ampersand on the end of it? Because we're sticking an ampersand on the end of that because of that. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's an ampersand on the end of it or not. So FQ equals source type spool. And we're getting something back because that matches the source type spool. But now let's try to do a search for using the time query. So we're going to put an ampersand TQ equals last day. And that works. Let me go check on something. I just realized that said fuck on the end of it. That's pretty funny. Okay. It happens. Random number generators. Okay, well, so this should work. It does work. So let's look at the query tags, FQ. So here we have it, but I don't see my plus sign. I think that what happens is the Solr strips that off. So it's in there on the query. You can see it right there. But I think it strips it off when it reports it back. That's what I was seeing the other day. Except the thing is, I don't want to see it saying last day. Why is it sticking that in there like that? Let me look at this. Okay, so here's where it says TQ equals last day, right there. And I say here, if request rs get TQ, if plus not in time word equals this, if not time word equals last day, then we're going to say start in equals that. And then I say this is what it is, Solr time equals updated. So how did I manage to get in there? And then I'm printing it. Where am I printing it? I'm printing the Solr query here, the query string here. And I'm saying that sets equals Solr time. So if Solr time is not nothing, then we should update it to, it should be updated to updated. It should say updated, not, what does it say? TQ equals last day. Oh. So what we have to do here is we have to say if TQ in key continue. And the reason we have to say that is because we've already handled it. So we're looping through twice. All right, so now we've got it right. Now it says updated in here. And it should have said that earlier, I guess. Let's see, where is it? Source type spool. Well, I don't know where it went. Here? Oh yeah, there it is right there. So it was already in there, it's just I just had an errant extra thing in there. Okay. So let's go look at the documentation. I actually was kind of worried about this, but I don't think this is a problem. So FL, let's try sending an FL. So what FL does is it says, I want to include, let's just go read the docs, make sure that I'm not making this up. FL fieldless parameter. The FL parameter limits the information included in a query response to a specific set of fields. 15 minutes left. The fields must be either stored true or docs value true. The field parameter limits information included in a query response to a specific list of fields. So I should only get back, I mean, is that right? FL equals, so I should only get back file names? FL parameter limits the information included in a query response to a specified list of fields. The fields must be either stored equals true or docs value. Field list can be specified as a space-separated, comma-separated list of field names. The string score can be used to indicate that the score of each document for the particular query should be returned as a field. Selects all the fields in the documents. The wild card character selects all the fields in the documents. Field list ID score returns only the ID name and price fields. What? What did I say? File names. Where's the field? Here's the. Oh, look, there's an error there. There's a space. It needs to be a space. There needs to be an ampersand there. So it says query equals tag 0 ampersand FQ source type spool updated. Then an ampersand. Why doesn't it say an ampersand there? I have an errant ampersand not included in here. Here. Right here. Now let's try that again. God, that chili smells good. Bam! So now we're only pulling back just the file name. So the user can say, I only want that field. So we could say, I guess it's spaces. So then we want the title. And that doesn't work. That's disappointing. Do I put a comma? That's it. We put a comma in there. Well, that's great. Okay, so what do we have left to do? So one of the things that I have in here is something like this. Search can be called using a JSON formatted query file. I don't know about this one. Let's take a look at this. Well, I'm thinking about just ending the stream right here because I feel pretty successful. I don't know that in 11 minutes that I can figure this out. And I feel like sometimes when I try to go take that on, that I just kind of screw it up. I don't know. I mean, it may be it's okay if, I mean, sometimes I go over, like, I went 20 minutes over one time, so why not be 11 minutes under? So I think what I'm going to do maybe is we can go and well, let's go talk about it real quick. So the JSON API is a good example. This facet API is a good example of this is the query. So I feel like what needs to happen here is that I take the query and just shovel it onto Solr. And this clearly works with curl because it's going to post this all, it's just going to post this JSON to Solr directly. So it's almost as if there needs to be else you know, there's a thing that I can't remember. Here's what it is. It's Python LF. For the life of me, yeah, it is an LF, isn't it? It is. Yeah, LF. Where's the damn example, guys? Here it is. So LF, so if there's a line, do one thing. LF, JSON. Something like that. So if there's a JSON query, equals, can you do an else if in Python? Guess you can't, can you? It's an LF. But what about JavaScript? It's not an LF, it's else if. It's else if. I like this better. I wish that worked in I wish that worked in Python. I don't think it does. Anyway, I don't know if it works or not, but this is LF in Python. I always forget that. I'm like, I know there's an LF in something. I should remember it's just in Python. I probably won't forget now that I've talked about it, but it's difficult for me to remember exactly. So I use Google a lot for things that are like I get coding, but sometimes there's like certain things I forget. So anyway, all right. So then this will handle JSON based queries. So then we'll be able to do something like this here. We'll be able to submit something like that using like a data binary type query. So this doesn't work yet, but it will shortly. But this is all working now, and you can put whatever fields you want in here. That you can send whatever fields you want in there. That's just the way it works. Let's make up some field and put it in there and see what it does. So we're going to do, I'm just going to make up some field. Foob equals blob. I guess that still works. So Solr just ignores that completely. Well, that's good. I think that's fine. So that's basically a pass-through for Solr. This function. So that's not really that much code. I'm actually quite glad that that's very short. So our function remains short. We've cleaned up, except with the exception of this. I need to fix that because of the timestamp offsets in prod. Like my box here is in Pacific Standard Time, so the time is set. It's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right now. So I think that that's good. We're handling the line. We still also have to handle the timestamp thing in there as well. We should be able to search still in here. What are you doing? It's so weird. I don't know what that thing's doing. Like, it's like, anyway, some click weirdness. Okay, so it still works. That's great. So search is still working. It's coming back. You know, you can still do things like this. So you can say, I need to indicate here that this is the title being returned, but when it indexes it, it's doing it. And I want to make it to where you can click on this and search for it. So you'll be able to click on that, and then it'll put the search down here for you. But you can do that. Yep, still works. And then you can click on this. Rare bird. Look, that bird's got it going on. Half female, half male. So odd. The world is a weird place. It's getting more odd all the time. What happened? Why is that not working? Is it blocking? Seriously? What is going on? Oh. Huh. Localhost. There we go. And we're going to save that. Come on, baby. Unexpected token. What do we figure that was earlier? It was due to, there was a bug in there or something. I should be able to crawl that. Oh, it's because it's got quotes in the name. So if we look at this URL, right? Damn it. If we go to this, yeah, it's got some quotes in there. Right there. So I gotta fix that. But yeah, that's well, that's it for Mitta today. If you like the video, be sure and give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, whatever. Go sign up for Mitta, mitta.us. Give me some feedback. I haven't been so great about monitoring today, but it looks like nobody came in, so that's good. It's just me again, but we're getting there. Episode 50, we're gunning for that for release. Episode 100. Well, episode 100, we'll be signing up people taking their money. So I appreciate you being here, and I'm Cord Campbell, and I'll see you soon. Take care and have a wonderful evening.